Good morning. We are doing lesson 71 today. It's the last lesson before the next quiz. The main thing you need to know how to do in today's math, this is my drawing. Kylie drew me. Isn't that nice? I think she did a great job. All right, so the one thing you need to remember is how to multiply 2-digit by 2-digit, okay? So say we've got 18 times 24, I don't know, okay? You gotta remember the process in this. We start over here with the 4. 4 times 8 is 32. 2 goes down, 3 goes up. Then we go 4 times 1. 4 times 1 is 4, but you gotta add the 3 you carried, so that makes it 7. Now, this is the part that people often screw up. You need to remember to shift your next answer over by 1 because you're multiplying tens, so there's not going to be any 1s. So a way to remember to do that is to put a 0 in the 1s, okay? 2 times 8 is 16, 6 goes down, 1 goes up. We're done with that 3. 2 times 1 is 2, 1 is 3. So we've got 72 and 360. 2 and nothing is 2, 7 and 6 is 13, carry the 1, 3 and 1 is 4. 432, okay? So you need to remember how to do 2-digit by 2-digit multiplication. Let's try another one. 71 times 58. Okay, start over on the right. 8 times 1, 8. Nothing to carry. 8 times 7, 56, and I can write it in because there's nothing, like I could carry it over there and then bring it down, but there's no, if you feel good doing that, you do you, okay? Then we move over. Now, remember, we got to shift, so if it helps you, put a 0 there. 5 times 1, 5. 5 times 7, 35. So we have 8. 6 and 5 is 11. 5 and 5 is 10, and I carry the 1. So that's 11 again, and I carry the 1, 4. 4, 1, 1, 8. Okay? So that's, you have to remember for the first step how to do that piece of it, okay? So let's have a look at today's work. It's only one page, and a lot of it you can do with your calculator, so you're going to be done quite quickly, okay? So they call this Sadie's method, okay? So in the example, they ask her for 35%. What is 35% of 27? Okay? So what you're going to do is take the 35 and times it by 27. Okay? Now, the way that they want you to do this, we'll do it because that's what they asked. But there is an easier way. Okay? 7 times 5, 35. 5 goes down, 3 goes up. 7 times 3, 21, and 3 is 24. Okay? Remember to shift. Put a 0 in the 1s. 2 times 5 is 10. Carry the 1. 2 times 3 is 6. And the 1 is 7. So we've got 5, 4, 9, 4, 5, right? Then she divides by 100 to get the percent because 35% is not the same as 35. It's actually decimal 35, right? So we need to shift that decimal place 2 places because it's out of a percent, right? So 35% is actually 35 100ths, right? So 2 zeros means we're shifting the decimal 2 places. So right now, in 945, that was our answer, there is no decimal. But there is, we just don't write it. Because technically 945 is 945 decimal 0. But think of all the math you've ever written in your life. If you had to write decimal 0 behind every whole number, we'd still be in grade 2. So we typically don't write it, but it is there, it's understood. Okay, so if my decimal is here, right, and I need to shift it 2 places, I'm going to go 1, 2. So my answer is 9.45. 35% of 27 is 9.45. There's a good way to check. If our number was 27, and I look at what half of 27 is, because half of anything is easy, right? We can always cut things in half. I'd be 13.5. So 13.5 is 50%. So 35% is going to be less than that, right? Because 35% is less than 50%. So just as a check for yourself, think, okay, what should I be expecting this to be, right? Well, half of 35 is 17.5, right? And I'm looking for 35%, so that means that whatever answer I get, it should be less than 13.5. So just as a double check when you're submitting your tests and quizzes, just do a little, does that make sense? Does it make sense? Is this possible? Is it possible that 35% of 27 is 9.45? Yes, because we know it had to be less than 17.5. If you get an answer like 94.5, that's a problem, because that's way bigger than 27. So you should be doing those little checks for yourself, just to make sure that your answer is reasonable. Okay? So using Sadie's method, I'll do the first one, you do the second one. Okay? So they want 25% of 44. Okay? So that means we're going to go 25 times 44. All right? 4 times 5 is 20. 0 goes down, 2 goes up. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 2 is 10. So I got 100. You got to remember to shift. Put a 0 in the second line. Now, we're not going to do this in grade 7, but if there was a third number in one of these, one of the numbers that we're multiplying, we'd have to add another level, and you'd have to add 2 zeros. But we'll get to that in grade 8. Okay, where was I? All right, I added my 0. 4 times 5 is 20, carried the 2. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 2 is 10. Okay, so I have, there's something very scratchy in my chalk. 0 and 0, 0. 0 and 0, 0. 1 and 0, 1. And thousands is only 1. There's nothing to add. So we've got 1100. Now we have to divide by 100. Well, our decimal's here, so we go 1, 2. So 25% of 44 is 11.0 or 11. I would take either. Okay? So you go do the second part of that question. Come on back for the next piece. Find the percent using Sadie's method. Okay, so here's the deal. You need to know how to do that, okay? But you could do it really fast on a calculator. So this question specifically says to use Sadie's method. So you do what you think you should do. If it's on a quiz or a test and it says use Sadie's method, you need to do the long division or do the multiplication and then divide by 100. If it doesn't say that, if it just says find 23% of 50, I'll show you how to do it on the calculator. Okay? So 23% of 23. Okay? So I'll show you Sadie's method first. 23% of 23. Anytime you see of in a math sentence, it means multiply. A little bonus for you. Okay, 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 2 is 6. Skip over 1. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 2 is 4. So we have 9. 6 and 6 is 12. 1 is 15. We have 529. Divide that by 100 is 529. My decimal's here. I go 1, 2 places. 5.29. Okay? Try another one. Times them together, then divide by 100. 15% of 26. Okay, so of means multiply. 15 times 26. 6 times 5 is 30. Carry the 3. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 3 is 9. Remember to skip over. 2 times 5 is 10. Carry the 1. 2 times 1 is 2, plus the 1 is 3. 0 and 0 is 0, 9 and 0 is 9, 3 and nothing is still 3. 390 divided by 100 means I go 1, 2, 3.9, okay? Now, 15% of 26. Let's try the half rule. Half of 26 would be 13. We're looking for 15%, which is going to be a lot less than half, right? So half would be 13, so we need to be a lot less than 13. 3.9 is a lot less than 13. So our check works. Now, to show you how to do this on a calculator, you're basically, if you talk yourself through the problem, you're telling yourself the buttons to press. 15% of 26 means 15 times 26 equals, we'd get 390, and then you go divided by 100, and it'll tell you the answer. Okay? I'll do one of the later ones with you, just to be sure you've got it solid. I might even do 2. We'll see. All right, 81% of 50. Okay? So that means we've got 81 times 50, right? 0 times 1, 0, 0 times 8, 0. We got to skip over 1 because now we're over here. 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 8 is 40. 0 and 0 is 0. 0 and 5 is 5. 0 and nothing is 0. 4 and nothing is 4. 4,050. Now I need to divide by 100 to get it to a percent because percents are out of 100, right? So 4,050, my decimal would be there. I go 2 places. It's 40.5. Okay, let's try the half rule. 81%. We can do 50%. We can figure out what half of 50 is. That'd be 25, right? Half of 50 is 25. 81 is more than 50%, a fair bit more than 50%. So that means we're looking for an answer greater, significantly greater than 25. 40.5 would be significantly greater than 25. So our half checked. Okay, one more, just to be sure. 92% of 11. Okay, 92 times 11. 1 times 2, 2. 1 times 9, 9. Skip over. 1 times 2, 2. 1 times 9, 9. Add them up. 2 and nothing, 2. 2 and 9, 11, carry the 1. 9 and 1 is 10. 1, 0, 1, 2. Now we need to divide by 100. 1, 0, 1, 2. My decimal's here. I go 1, 2. That equals 10.12. Let's try our half check. So half of 11 would be 5.5, right? But we need 92% of 11, which is way more than 50%. So our answer should be way more than 5.5. 10.12 would be way more than 5.5. Okay? So use that half check to make sure your answers are reasonable. Okay, pause the video, go answer the rest of number 2. Okay, find 35% of 40 in 2 ways. 35% of 40. Okay? Did you get the same way? So, 1, we're going to use Sadie's method. It specifically says Sadie's method, so we'll do it. Now, so we need 35 times 40. 35% of 40. 0 times 5 is 0. 0 times 3 is 0. We got to skip over, so put your 0 in the second line. 4 times 5 is 20, carry the 2. 4 times 3 is 12, and 2 is 14. Oh, that's not a 4. 14. Add them up. Nothing and nothing, still nothing. Nothing and nothing, still nothing again. 4 and nothing, 1 and nothing. So we have 1,400. Remember the decimal's at the end, so it skips in 2 places, and we get 14. So Sadie's method tells us that 35% of 40 is 14. Okay, let's do the half check. 50% of 40 would be 20. 35% is less than 50%, so it should be less than 20. Our number should be less than 20. It is. Okay, So that's Sadie's method, right? I wish I'd not used my whole board to do that now that I see what's next. The second method is to find 35% by finding 25% and 10%. So, for us to find 10% of 40, we can do it again. 10 times 40, or actually, we did this yesterday, right? So we should use what we did yesterday. Okay, so 10% of 40 means that we're going to skip the decimal one place. So our decimal would be here at the end, we're going to skip it there. So that means that 10% of 40 is 4. Okay? Now 25% of 40, 25%. Okay? Now, there's a couple of ways we could figure out 25%. 25% is made up of 2 10s and a 5, right? So 2 10s would be 4 plus 4, and then the 5 would be half of a 10, right? So it'd be plus 2. 4 and 4 is 8 and 2 is 10. So we could do it that way. You could also think that 25% is a quarter, right? So if we divided the 40 into quarters, that would tell us how much is in each, right? So if I had 4 bubbles and I divided my 40 between them, I'd end up with 10 in each, right? Oh, 10 in each. So 25% is 10. So 4 from the 10% plus 10 from the 25%, sorry, my writing's gone crazy, is 14, which is still the same way that we got it when we used Sadie's method. Okay? Now, 35% is less than 50%, which is half. This is part B. Is your answer to part A less than half of 40? I've been talking about this to you the whole lesson, so you should understand this last part. So, is 35% closer to 0 or closer to half? Well, if here's a line, right? Oh, that's not half. There, say, is 50. Where would 35 be? We'd have to cut this into 5 pieces, each worth 10, right? So this would be 10, this would be 20, this would be 30, this would be 40. 35 would be here. Is it closer to 50 or is it closer to 0? Right? So you can pause the video, go finish those last couple of parts of question 3, come back for number 4. Okay, 4. Find 30% of 50 and 50% of 30. Okay, I'm only going to do the first piece with you, and you can do the last piece, okay? So they want 30% of 50. Okay, so that means we're going to go 30 times 50. 0 times 0, 0, 0 times 0, 0, add your 0 down there to skip it over. 5 times 0 is still 0. 5 times 3, 15. Nothing and nothing, nothing. Nothing and nothing, nothing. 15. Now we got to divide by 100 to get a percent. So 1500, I skip it 2 places, I end up with 15. Right? That's 30% of 50. Does that make sense? What's half of 50? 25. We're looking for 30%, so that's less than the 50% we figured out, right? So our answer should be less than 25. 15 is less than 25. Okay? You do 50% of 30 and then answer the last question. Okay? That's it, that's all. Have a good day.